Oye, 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 Alex Torres with Omar y Gerardo of Trifulca Media. And in this new episode of Trifulca Wrestling Podcast, we have a special guest. He's making his name in the wrestling indie scene in Florida and other states. And recently, we saw him in WWC Puerto Rico and also in AEW not so long ago. You can call him Austin Two Belts because he's the NAW Junior Champion and also the Division Pro Champion as well. So let's give a big welcome to the King of Flight, Will Austin.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you
Hey,
for being with
yeah,
us.
appreciate you guys. Thank
Welcome,
you for having
welcome.
me. And you mentioned my two girls over here.
Yeah,
I always got them ready.
Hey,
ready to go.
We do the homework.
hey, you start with one, then you have two. You never know. You ended up with three or four of those girls.
Hey, that's the goal. Where I'm cuddled up at night all around.
All right, all right. Well, let's start with the first question, Omar.
Hey, Will, when you became a fan of the wrestling business?
When I became a fan of wrestling business, oh man, probably when I was like 6, I would say. For some reason, like one of my earliest memories is I was sleeping in the living room for some reason, and I woke up and it was John Cena rapping on SmackDown, like 2003 or something like that, and I was just hooked like from the get because not only was his rapping different, but like if you looked at his style, he was different than the normal average person you see walking down the street. And then a little bit after that, Rey Mysterio comes and all of them, and it just got hooked ever since then. So probably like 6 years old, I was just hooked, and I was a fan ever since.
Awesome, Gerardo.
So you mentioned Cena and Mysterio. What other wrestlers did you become a fan of? Were you able to go to live shows or when you were growing up?
I went to a couple of live shows when I was growing up. I went to a Raw house show, and I remember Jeff Hardy like just mesmerized me. It was like '06, and then I went to WrestleMania in Orlando. It was WrestleMania 24. I want to say it was Undertaker and Edge in the main event, and
Mm-hmm.
that was Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and I was never. Everybody thinks Shawn Michaels like the greatest ever, and like I never seen the hype around him how everybody does until I seen him live against Ric Flair, and
Mm-hmm.
That we were there actually too.
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing like seeing it live. Like seeing it on TV is one thing, but when you see it live, it's a whole another animal.
So you are from Florida, current? You're from Florida?
Yeah, and every time I get introduced Hollywood, Florida, it starts getting a chant of Hollywood.
Awesome. Oh man.
When you decide to be a wrestler?
Probably I'm 25 now, so 20 years old, 21 years old. I started training, so probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I was playing semi-pro football, and I just got burnt out. I was getting injured almost every other game, or I was getting hurt. I kept getting tired of depending on other people, like my offensive line or whatever the case may be. So I wanted something that I can go to that I can also be competitive in,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of a little bit less risky. And I know it's funny to say less risky, but I'm in professional wrestling where we take bumps and
Ironic, right?
And you are like a high flyer.
Oh, of course, the king of flight. I'm a hybrid style. I can get in there technical, chain with the best of them, but my favorite is knowing what I'm going to give the fans, watching their jaw just drop, whatever, be flying up
Mm-hmm.
the top rope, flying off the top, whatever the case may be.
Hey, now that you mentioned football, and this is not part of the question, but me and Geraldo, we love pro football. I'm from, I live here in Florida as well. So, and Gerardo live in Seattle. So you mentioned that you play semi pro. So what was your position in football?
Semi-pro, I played cornerback, quarterback, receiver, running back, anything I could do to get on the field, honestly. And then, of course, when semi-pro, I started at quarterback a little bit, so then you are a little bit less flexible. They don't want you moving around as much because you're starting quarterback. You can't get hurt.
No, okay. So before you decide that you want to be in the wrestling industry, then, so do you have goals like years prior, maybe in your high school, and that you want to be like in playing NFL or something like that, or even NCAA Division One or something? That was one goal that you have before.
Always the goal for anybody starting playing football is the NFL if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
middle school to high school level. And I remember I used to joke with my friends, like I would even take a job on the practice squad for the Miami Dolphins. Um, but once you're in high school and playing football and you're seeing your competition, and I was never the best, and I know I was, but it's like you're being more realistic. It's like I know I'm not going to D1, D2.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I wanted to continue a little bit further after high school, I just didn't know how much further. So semi-pro was the next step.
Okay, okay. Now going back then to wrestling, so you decide to be a wrestler, like you mentioned. How was those first day of training? Where was it? Who were your first trainers? Tell us.
My first day of training at Coastal Championship Wrestling, I'm no longer there.
Okay.
But this was 4 years ago, 2017, I want to say. My first day of training, everybody thought I was cocky, and I probably was at the time because I walked in, I took my first bump, and I was like, I could do this forever. And
Ooh.
yeah, it was maybe me being cocky coming from football because that's just how it was. I used to talk on
Mm-hmm.
smack on the field, and my first day I walked in, I took a bump, and I was like, "This is it. I can do this all day long." But you get used to it. It's not something that's like easy. I probably like covered the pain a little bit, but you get used to it, and it's something that's like, it's not a natural thing, and you got to adapt to it.
Okay, okay. So going with what you just said, then the one you finish, let's say that first training. So the next day that you wake up normally. The reason I'm asking you this because obviously, we interview a lot of wrestlers that probably their first day of training, the next day they don't can't even get out of their bed. But maybe
Oh
with your
man,
football experience, taking bumps, it will be a different story for you.
definitely like just the workouts in football. I remember doing like these things. We used to do explosive workouts,
Mm-hmm.
long jump, stuff like that. And I remember being the good sore and laying down in bed, like you want to stretch your legs, but like you bring them up and it just feels good, but it's just so sore on your body. It was kind of the same way. So all that workout and stuff and the contact sport from football kind of got me already prepared for wrestling.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Gerardo.
Take us back to that first match you had. When did it happen? How was it?
Oh, dude, I couldn't have asked for a better debut match. I was June or July 20th, whatever that Saturday was, 2018 against Vince Steele, 400-pound guy from New York who can actually move. He
Yes, I agree.
the best big man in the business. And I debuted probably at least in front of 600, but a lot more people than that. So it was the most crazy, like adrenaline filled experience of my life. And I remember the finish. I remember laying there and this 400-pound man's climbing to the top of the top rope like Godzilla, King Kong, and gives me the Booker T front flip leg drop, and it was like probably one of the
Oh,
most scariest moments of my life.
Sounds scary. I can visualize myself like it being like this and then seeing that guy go. It's
Just
oh
see
my
him
god.
getting to the top rope, and I see the top rope like shaking, and then he only has one foot on there. I was like, oh my god, just
So
don't do
what
it.
you did you close your eye and hold your breath?
A little bit, but I kind of wanted to see it. Like he's already up there, you want to see him jump off.
And
Oh,
the next day, how you feel?
Oh my god! The next day we actually had another show. It was a lot smaller show, and I wrestled Vince Steele in a tag match. And I remember at the end, I was trying to get in to break up the pin, and he puts both feet on my chest.
oh my
He's
god, no.
like, mind you, he outweighs me by like 300 pounds easy, and
yeah.
it was like it was very welcome to the business, that's for sure.
Yeah, great
It-
welcome.
oh my.
Tell us about your experience in the independent circuit.
An independent circuit, it's very. I can say this now. It's very humbling because I'm 4 years in. So my first year, when I've actually like got out and started seeking bookings outside of my home company, whatever the case may be, I was wrestling anywhere and everywhere I could just to get my name out there. I didn't care about how much the pay was. And even at
Well,
the
you want to
time,
get you want to get matches.
exactly, you want to get reps, you want to get matches, you just want to get your name out there. You just want to get it on footage so you can put it on YouTube so you can send it to people. But I was making little to no money. I was probably making $50 a match my whole first year. And it was just I was just book me out. I'm gonna make your show better. I'm just gonna get my name out there. I know that I don't care about the money right now. Just book me, and that's all it was. It was very humbling. 4 years in now, I have people flying me out now. I'm a champion in Massachusetts. Like I'm going to Texas this Friday, and I have Orlando on this Saturday. And the money's getting better, and it's more about the money. It's more about like now I'm wrestling better people. Now I'm wrestling more differently. Like my style is differently. I'm not just one style, like a high flying style that I can get this all on footage, and it's you make connections.
Mm-hmm.
You network with people, but when you say network with people, it's really it's really harder nowadays. I would say, like, I think people just imagine as you go to a show, you meet a wrestler, it's like, hey, who do you work for? Can you get me on there? And it's not like that at all. It's just like the way you network with people is just like, oh, who do you work for? What state? What company? You do your own research and you hit them up, and like, because their word may not be as good. Like, oh, I know Will Austin, but their word may not be good to that company. But 4 years in, it's definitely been one hell of a ride. It's like I'm loving every minute of it. Like, and I can say that because I pretty much ate shit the whole first year seeking bookings.
Okay. Now, sorry, this was not part of the rundown of the question, but and probably it's an obvious question, but when they start naming you or naming yourself the king of fly, and how you start, you mentioned that probably you start wrestling around 2018, your first matches,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's been like 4 years. How do you develop your aerial
The evolution.
style wrestling and naming yourself the king of flight?
Well, it actually started in practice before my first match with Vince Steele, or like a little bit after Vince Steele, I would say. But even my first match with Vince, I'm already flipping over the top rope. I'm coming off the top rope. I'm doing springboards. I'm doing whatever to get that air, to get the crowd going, get them off their get them from sitting down, get their jaws dropping. And then the more you just get reps, the more you get matches. Like, I remember the first time I ever did a 450 splash was in a match. I never practiced it. I never went into a gym. Like, you can't teach somebody just to flip and do a 450. So it's the first time I ever did it was in a match. So if you look at most of my wrestling, it's stuff you'll never see because I don't practice it. There is no practice.
It's
Okay.
organically.
So, wow, and doing aerial move, that is considered, in the wrestling industry like some type of some kind of dangerous move. That's something that you always keep in mind that doing 450s are not easy or stuff like that. Do you enjoy doing them? Or at the beginning, you say, okay, let me try this, but I don't know how this came.
It's one of those, like, going back to me coming into wrestling probably as a cocky kid, that I knew it was high risk, high reward, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But if it pays off, it's so worth it. And there's room for error, but if you mess up, realistically, the crowd doesn't really know you messed up unless it's bad. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So, like, again, like, I could have messed up the first time I did a 450, and they probably would have never known what I was even going for. So, but that just goes to me, like, just going back to me being cocky. I'm like, at 450, I'm athletic. I can do that. I can do something off the top rope. I can fly out the ring.
Yeah,
No.
definitely. The football background really helped because you were confident in yourself and your athletic ability. So doing that transition to wrestling for you was like a piece of cake because it was like I've done this before. You were
And taking bumps.
taking bumps, like playing at a semi-pro level. For you, that transition was easier than maybe somebody that doesn't have an athletic background, which it is more difficult for them.
Exactly. And I probably caught heat early on just for that, just because of my attitude, which I probably still have now, just not as much. It was just because I knew, like, this is what I want to do. Once I transitioned to
Mm-hmm.
wrestling, I was like, this is what I want to do. And it kind of came naturally to me. It kind of came easy, and I was picking it up faster than whoever because when you come into wrestling, you come with like probably like 3-4 people. That's your class. So it was, obviously I was most athletic in my class. I was going through everything, picking up everything faster than them. So yeah, maybe I caught a little heat just because it was naturally gifted to me. But it was
Mm-hmm.
from day one. I was like, this is what I want to do. That, like, I'm athletic enough for it, and like,
Yeah, you know
No.
what they say, it ain't bragging if you can back it up, right?
exactly. And like now, I've actually learned now. Like I need to tone it down a little bit. Like, I need to learn when to shut up, which I have. But it's also like a guy I wrestled from New York, Sebastian Cage, who I honestly want to say, like, we wrestled in January this year, and our match put me on the map this year. Easily, he's the best high flyer in New York. I remember the first time he met me was the first match we ever had, and he was telling me, "Oh, I would see all the cockiness, all the shit talking you're saying online, and you meet you in person. It's like, yeah, that's you, but in person you're kind of toned down." So he's just like, "But I love your character online. It works."
That's awesome. Uh, by the way, what the question we're asking you, we don't have any particular of chronological order, so just in case, and the reason is because I want to talk right now about your experience. You've been part of the AEW dark tapings. First of all, how do you feel when they called you out to be part of AW, and how was the experience, the feedback of the people backstage after the fact?
Oh, it was like, I remember just getting the email, and it was the craziest thing to me. got it from QT, and it was like, is this real? Because I've done it before, but I've done through it at school, and then this is like without going to the school. He hit me up directly, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember going there, and I was just like, okay, like last time I did security work, so I may or may not have a match this time. I don't know. It's kind of looking good for me. I don't know what's gonna happen, but even I went in with the mentality. I was like, hope for the best, expect the worst. Like, they're coming, they're inviting me. So even if I have a match, that's the best. If they don't, at the very least, they're inviting me. At the very least, like I get to go AEW, at least be around that environment, be around the wrestlers, watch the show. Hell, I was in
Mm-hmm.
catering for 2 days straight. Like the catering is amazing there. But it was the most humbling, amazing experience of my life, especially when I had the match with Wardlow. He's a big guy, so it's like
It
not,
is.
not much I could do. So but it was probably one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And plus, I had my girlfriend there with me, and she was on AEW the next night on Dark, and I was so nervous. I know she was nervous for me watching backstage because you have wrestlers watching the monster backstage, and me just watching her match. I was more nervous for her than I was my own match.
That's awesome that you mentioned her because and I'm not telling you this because we're talking to you, but you and your girlfriend, you guys did very well, in those matches. It doesn't matter the
Thank
outcome, the performance wise, I have to
you.
give it to you guys, so.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we went in there with the intention was like, let's just open everybody's eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the intention, and hopefully I hope to
That
see
is
you
the
guys.
platform to you
Mm-hmm.
get to the next level.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate like it kind of like humbles you too. It shows you where you're at and shows you where you need to be.
Exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. Hopefully you guys can be in future AEW tapings. I went to AEW for the first time, a couple of weeks ago. I'm from Orlando right now, and I've been to WWE shows as well and other indie, here in Florida. And let me tell you, the atmosphere of AEW is awesome. The crowd, the way that it support everybody, people that are being in the business for a lot of year, or young talents like you guys. The crowd always back
React.
you guys up. The reaction is so awesome. Have to
Oh,
be a
dude,
good feeling for you.
it was crazy because I'm a Florida local wrestler, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously they start chanting King of Flight when I'm in the ring. So before I even locked up with Wardlow, we had a King of Flight chant going, and I just stood there like I had goosebumps. I was like, "Yo, is this real?
Wow.
Is this happening?" And Wardlow gave me a look. He's like, "Okay." I was like, "Oh, that's what you're doing."
That was a nice story that you tell us. That you been that was in Miami, right?
Yeah,
The
the James O Night Center.
Exactly, you having few chance of flight have to be rewarding in a way.
Like
Um,
like I knew I built a name on the Indies, but when they started chanting at AEW, I was like, I must have done something.
Wow,
Yeah, it was definitely like mind blowing. Just
that's so,
something that small, like where they're like a crowd, but on a big scale, like a TV crowd is chanting King of Flight, and I was like, dude, you got to be kidding me.
no, that was awesome, Geraldo.
So right now we can call you Austin Two Belts.
Of course.
Currently, you have the Division Pro Championship and you have the New Age Wrestling Junior Championship. So, how does it feel to accomplish these two milestones and in your career? And what do you have in line, like in mind next? What are the next championships you want to have, and or what are the things you have going on?
What is it? The first question was, what is it like having these belts, and what was it like? So even just getting these opportunities to have these
Mm-hmm.
belts, it shows me like you're gonna give me a chance to go for it. You're gonna put at least some faith in me that I can carry it. It's probably one of the most rewarding things ever. And there's I don't want to go too in depth like backstage. Like
No, that's fine.
I'm I'm a wrestler who doesn't kiss ass, who doesn't kiss ass at a promoter, who doesn't like I just put my head down and work. Like I have a saying, hard work makes the grass grow, and these belts mean so much because this shows my hard work. Like I put my head down and work, and this is the payoff, and this is what it shows because I don't kiss ass. I don't have to sweeten up to the promoter. I don't have to do whatever to anything, but it's like it makes me believe in myself. It makes me show what I'm doing is working.
Okay, no, and that's fair to say. It's better that you have that. Let's say this championship opportunity because of the way you're working and deserving instead of doing kissing ass backstage like you're mentioning right now. So, what other title you have in mind next? I don't know. Now you have two of them. What was the other promotion that you're you know
You are looking
Mm,
for some title or something.
Any and all of them. Like I won the division pro belt, and a week after that, I put it on the line, title versus title for the new age junior championship, and I won it. So now any and all belt, I'll put them belts up against anybody. I'm going to Texas. There's a belt out there and a wrestler out there that excites me to wrestle him is Gino Medina. He's the Smash Mouth Wrestling Bull of the Woods champion, and we're actually in the same group called the IPC, the International Players Club. So I don't know how that's going to work too well, but that's probably one of the one that entices me the most. But any belt and all belt.
cool, cool. Yeah. Hey, Omar.
How was your experience in Puerto Rico in WWC? And what are the difference between the wrestling in Puerto Rico and what you have wrestling in the US in the Indies?
My experience going over there was like it's still the craziest thing when I talk about it. Like I'm just a kid from Hollywood. I'm not supposed to go anywhere. I'm not supposed to like no one comes from Hollywood. And the fact that
How
um
how you came in the first time to Puerto Rico? How
so
was that call?
so at my home company CCW, I was the CCW Tag Team Champion match striker. And when COVID happened, he was stuck in New York. So I was defending the belts in whatever match I could, singles match, handicap match. And then the first match from COVID that we had, we brought in the Colognes.
Got
And
okay.
I had a surprise partner because Matt Striker wasn't going to be there because of COVID. And the first time I wrestled the Colognes, like this was their first match out of WWE, and I knew this was going to get eyes on them. And I knew from that match they were impressed with me. I wrestled them one more time in a 6-man, and without even saying, like they looked at me like, "Yo, you just outshined everybody. We have something for you in Puerto Rico." And I heard something about they're doing a junior tournament. I didn't know exactly what it was, and I heard the hype around Justin Dynamite from the second there's a possibility I might go to Puerto Rico. I heard the hype around Justin Dynamite, so I looked him up and I was like, dude, this is a smaller but better Will Austin right now because he was better at where I was at the time. I'll admit it. Um, the difference between wrestling in America and Puerto Rico is not much difference. Wrestling is a universal language. Like a lot of wrestlers over there, they speak English. It's Puerto Rico. They're American territory. They
Mm-hmm.
speak English. But not all of them speak English. So you have to work. But wrestling is universal. It's like that's why it's like American can go over to Japan, like the Tokyo Dome, and
Mm-hmm.
like have a match because wrestling is universal. It's not really a language barrier because it's like yeah, you're trained a certain way, people are trained a certain way, but realistically, you know what you have to do when you get in there.
And I'm glad you're telling us that. And now that I'm thinking is that usually in Puerto Rico, the wrestling culture, they have a mix like a strong style in a way, but in your case, you were focused in the junior division. So
Mm-hmm.
And
maybe
he was with the best junior in Puerto Rico.
exactly. So if one day you go back to Puerto Rico and you wrestle someone that is not in the junior division, maybe you can
It's
feel what
gonna
is
be a different
a
experience.
different
Well,
a different type of
so we did the tournament. We had a junior heavyweight championship tournament, and
hmm
I just thought I was like, dude, for me even to come over here, get flown over here to Puerto Rico, and just be in this tournament is like, dude, like in WWC where it's all these big names, and it's a big company. It was just I was content with that. And then you start seeing the brackets the way they fall up, and Dynamite's on the other side of me, and I was like, dude, everybody keeps talking about Dynamite, and see if we match up in the finals. Like, let's see what happens. The first round, I wrestled Angel the Beast.
yes.
And he's not so much a junior. He wrestles like a bigger guy. So
Yeah.
that was
You
probably my
have a
first
lot of
taste.
experience.
Yeah. Oh, he's amazing. That was probably my first taste of somebody over there. That wasn't a junior, but I thought that's how it's going to be all the way through. And then you meet somebody like Dynamite, and we're go go go. You can't stop us.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah. Because the beast, how they call Angel,
Mhm.
he's a wrestler that has been in the industry for more than 10 years, and
Yeah,
even that he's in the junior division, in the tournament, he can fight, like a strong style, classic Puerto
And he's a
Rican way.
teacher. He's a
He
teacher of
actually
wrestling
has it.
He's a
yeah,
trainer.
He has his own school
school.
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
hearing that when I was over there, but then I'm sizing him up because he's my first round opponent. I was like, he's a little bit bigger than a junior.
Yeah, you know how it is even in WWE, the 205 division, there are wrestlers that weigh more.
Exactly. Are they
Yeah.
really 205? Yeah.
All right, all right. Okay, Omar.
What are your five favorite wrestlers of all time in the US?
Oh man, all time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
No
go.
particular order.
Cena number one. I grew up watching him. I've always it's got to be Cena. Uh, Chris Jericho.
Oof.
Um, somewhere in there, you got. I'm really, especially more now than I was back in the day. But back in the day, I think he was even better. Davey Richards. Now
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
he back like
yeah. Now that he did the
I'm
comeback,
so
yeah.
much of a fan of him. Um, Daniel Bryan. That's one, and I would say Gargano.
Oh,
That's a nice list.
That's
I
a
that's
love
nice.
that
great.
list. Yeah, I have to
Technical
give it
list.
to you. I like.
But if you were talking to Will Austin probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'd say Will Austin, Will Austin, Will Austin, Will Austin, Will Austin.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That is
Geraldo.
good.
So basically the same thing, but outside the US. So basically internationally, what would be your top five?
Oh man, are they outside the U.S. now or?
Yeah, around the whole world.
Like, yeah, like any, it could
You
be
have
all
Japan,
time or
US.
currently or, yeah.
I would say number one has to be Pac
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
from the UK, and right after that is probably my dream match ever, and it's more realistic now than ever. Will Ospreay with him coming to MLW.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
then you have Phoenix
ooh.
Yes.
and La Sombra.
Ah, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one has got to be probably Aerostar.
Oh, you
Oh,
mentioned a lot of dream matches.
And it's funny, Will, because my next question was, do you have any dream matches that you want to accomplish more than one? So even that you're repeating
High
probably
five.
tell me all the dream matches that you have in mind.
I have dream matches and I have realistic matches.
Okay,
okay.
that's
So
fair.
So,
so
yeah.
top of the dream match already Will Ospreay easily.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched him over the last 2-3 years in Japan, almost every single night he's putting on 5-star matches, and his style is my exact style. And I feel like we would mesh so well. So I have him as a dream match, and then I would say Seth Rollins.
Oh, okay.
That is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then realistically, you have independent talent like there's a kid out in Texas who's been killing it, who's on fire. His name is Nathan Bradley.
Nathan
Um,
Bradley. Okay.
Chandler Hopkins, who's just been on AEW, he's out of Texas too. I wrestled him in a 4-way, and just his you can see what he's learned and he puts it to use from AEW Dark. You have, I would say, Gino Medina out in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and then now this guy's making headlines in Vegas and California. Jay Vidal, who was just took a sick pile driver from Eric Young on Impact and like bounced 10 feet high. And then of course, I'd say to round off that list, somebody that I get a lot of comparisons to for some reason, Flip Gordon.
Oh,
Oh,
Flip Gordon. Yeah.
Gordon. Actually, that's one as a realistic one because what
Hey,
happened with Ring of Honor, so he's a free agent technically.
yep.
So
Yeah, that you're absolutely true, Geraldo.
And,
Okay.
and, then, and then the last one, just to top it off, because I think obviously what mesh was Bandito.
No,
oh,
okay.
that's another one that could happen. Yeah, he's actually making the rounds. Another free agent from Ring of Honor. So yeah,
And you're aware, those dream matches, and I don't think this will be a problem for you, but it require a lot of stamina. But
Oh
that guy,
man, like
they don't
dude,
get.
I get blown up watching Osprey matches.
Hey, I didn't have the question neither, but now you're mentioning the indie scene and all, and, all, I'm aware, probably like 5, 10 years ago, probably every wrestler goal was to go to WWE. And again, I don't think why not that will be the case. But now that you have AEW, you have Impact, you have MLW, and and
And
other
New Japan.
New Japan, Mexico, stuff like that. You know, what type of goals do you have? In to be part of any of those companies. If that's something that you're looking for, it doesn't matter which one, or you have, or you're setting a goal in only one. So what is your goals? In going to different companies that are like at the next step.
Like you said, 5, 10 years ago, the goal would have been WWE easily. Now it's you have more companies on TV. My goal is to go somewhere I'm wanted, go somewhere I'm gonna be happy, and go somewhere I'm gonna be successful. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to bash any companies, but you hear all these wrestlers getting released from WWE, they weren't happy there.
Yeah.
You see
Yes.
all
Mm-hmm.
these, you see these ex WWE wrestlers in AEW, and they're like they just look better. They have a glow that they get to do more freedom, that they're just happy that they're not in the WWE system no more.
Dustin Rhodes. he he
Yep.
fi- he's awesome in AEW. Dustin.
Yeah, and like you just see like they're so much more happy, they light up. So to answer your question, somewhere like I'm wanted, I'm successful, and somewhere I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah, and, and now that you mentioned the WWE situation, unfortunately, at this point, at this moment, I don't think nobody wants to go there because
You'll
Even
last,
Bray Wyatt get released.
you'll
you know,
last about a week.
yeah. So, yeah, but I like the way AEW is doing that. That they're giving opportunities in those AEW,
Darks.
dark tapings. The opportunity, even if only one match, be making you being part of them. It's being exposed on national TV or in their YouTube channel. That is a worldwide window.
I have three more, I would say, dream/realistic matches for AEW Dark. Me against Serpentico. We've wrestled one on one before. I would love that again. Daniel Garcia and Lee Moriarty.
And that will be good matches as well. Let me tell you. So AW, please make that happen.
Please, I'm definitely gonna be back there. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, good to know, Gerardo.
Well, we're going to go to a section that is called basically El Toma y Dame, which is basically a back and forth. I'm gonna tell you a name, and you're gonna tell me a word or a phrase that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind about that name. So basically, number one, WWC Puerto Rico,
Iconic.
Alex Ocean,
um, my deathmatch rival.
Sebastian Cage,
Amazing.
Jackal,
Ah, um, out there.
AEW,
Obtainable.
Tiffany Nieves,
my, my love.
Division Pro Wrestling,
I have it on my back right now.
Cha Cha Charlie,
Clown.
New Age Wrestling,
Company I'm gonna build up.
OT Fernandez,
Amazing. It doesn't get enough credit. Long overdue.
I agree.
King of Flight, Will Austin.
Unstoppable.
Cool.
Oh,
Well, Will, we're gonna we have the last round of questions right now, and then we'll let you go. And but I'm hoping that you are having a good time with us.
Of course. Always love coming on here. Thank you guys again. I like
Cool,
to
man.
give a shout out to Future Legend. The clothing company that sponsors independent wrestlers. Hit them up. They sent me a care package. This is amazing.
No, it looks cool, yeah. And at the end of the episode, we're gonna talk about where we can find all your merchandise, that you have that is so cool. Omar,
Once you're retired, what legacy you want to leave behind?
That I was the best, that I worked the hardest, that I you can't really have a knock on me. Some, like, the only knock I would say on me right now is, oh, he has a bad attitude. That's what they may say. Some people say that, some people who don't know me like that. But you can't knock my work ethic. You can't say anything about anything I do in or around the ring.
cool.
Great.
Gerardo.
What advice would you give to anyone that wants to belong to the wrestling industry, but they're afraid that they might fail?
Oh, you can't be afraid. That's the main thing. You have to go, like, that's probably why I would say I'm so successful at this point in wrestling, that especially with my wrestling in ring style, I have no fear. You can't let anything hold you back. You can't, oh, what if I get hurt? That's when you get hurt. You can't have any fear. Um, and advice I would give to any professional wrestler: please, 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 before going to a wrestling school, do your research. Do, like, yeah, they could have a person who's training who used to be in the WWF 20 years ago, and they may have 30 years of experience. That doesn't mean shit. Like, do your research.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean they're a good person. That doesn't mean they're credible. Like, do your research, especially females, because it's sad that females have to put up with a lot more shit, especially in wrestling school, than men do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Hey, Will, your merchandise. When we can get your merchandise, shirts or whatever you have. This is the
I
time to
actually,
promote yourself.
I actually just got a new logo made. I'm gonna have more shirts made. DM me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Will Austin _ KOF on Instagram. DM me. I'm having new shirts made, and my Pro Wrestling Tee store is up. I just don't have anything on there, so I'm probably gonna load more into there with my new design.
Cool. Yeah,
Great.
and we're gonna have your social media
Information here.
information and
Yeah.
your merchandise link, in once this episode goes up, everybody can go and click the link to go directly to your social media and everything. So it will be good. So
I,
hey,
I'll, tell,
Will.
I'll tell you what, though. I
Hmm.
probably around January, when I first got back from WWC the first time, I probably had like 400 something followers on Instagram, 500 maybe. Jumped up to like 700 out of nowhere, and then
Oh,
you got me another push. I'm almost at 1,000. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
great.
good, and I hope after this interview, that that there's people from Latin America that listen to us, and hopefully now that we'll get to know you better, you can hit more followers and see you, start searching for Will Austin in YouTube to see how good you are, and keep an eye on him. He's a future of wrestling right now. His style, he can match up with everybody in the indie scene right now, and I know I'm hoping that you have a bright future, and a career that years from this interview, people will take a look and say, hey, I remember when he was starting, in the wrestling industry, now how he became. So
that's
Yeah.
I love, like, being able to look back, like, especially now as a wrestler. I'm gonna start
mhm.
doing vlogs. Like, my first vlog is gonna be like the throwback of my first time in Puerto Rico. I have like all the footage and stuff together. I just
Cool.
gotta put it out.
That is great.
It'll actually come out on my YouTube probably in the next couple of days, probably like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, something like that. But it's always amazing just to get to be able to look back and see how far you've come. Like, again, like when I went to Puerto Rico the first time, I was like, I'm never supposed to be here. I'm a kid from Hollywood in the finals of a junior heavyweight championship tournament against the best junior heavyweight in Puerto Rico that I've ever seen.
Cool. Yeah. So in your YouTube information, or your channel, it will be in your link tree in your social media. So people you know go to his YouTube channel so you can see his new vlogs. With his wrestling experience, like he mentioned in Puerto Rico, for instance. And I'm really looking forward to see those vlogs as well. So
I'm
Will.
gonna try to put one out once a week. Maybe I'll when this comes out, I'll cut some of this up, put it in there for episode 2. But the first one's gonna be Puerto Rico for sure, and then the episode 2, I'm gonna try to keep it at least once a week, maybe twice a week. But I'm gonna try to keep it consistent too.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, Will, thank you again, for taking your time to talk with us. Hopefully, this will not be the last time. The virtual studio is open for you for any type of promotion that you want to do regarding your wrestling career and everything.
And when
So
you win the next belt, we want you here to talk about that.
straight to
I'll
the
come back.
point. Talk.
Austin 3 belts. I'll come back.
Yeah, yeah. We want to do the Austin 3 Bell episode.
Oh man, I'll tell you, like you'll never get me to shut up once I get that third belt.
All right, guy. Now you heard. And remember, if people that wants to follow us goes to all the social media, just search Trifulca Media. And if you want to see and buy our merchandise, our link tree is in all our social medias. Go there and you can see all our merchandise, shirt, caps, hoodies, a lot of stuff that we have. So, well, from Will, Geraldo, Omar, and me. This is it. Have a good night.
Appreciate you guys having.
Thank you.